Welcome to the Out of Home Insider, the loudest voice in out of home, bringing you actionable insight that you can actually use. And today's guest has a ton of insight and a really hot topic, something that he's been at for better part of 2 decades. Adam from Alt Terrain, thanks so much for being here.
Hey man, it's a pleasure. I'm a big marketing nerd. I could hear and talk about it all day long.
Well, that's perfect. That's exactly what we do here. So why don't you tell the audience, tell the folks listening and watching what it is that you do?
Well, in short, I'd say that we help brands be a part of people's lives via city culture. So whether that be a poster, projection, vehicle of some sort, street team, being at a festival, experiential type of stuff too. Trying to bring experiences to marketing. When I grew up in the 90s, as you probably recall, marketing was kind of lame. It was like one-dimensional, just pushing the messages out. And what was missing, in my opinion, was context, relevancy, and experiences. Get out there, be human, help people. And so what I've been trying to do over the past, as you say, 2 decades is kind of bring that to brands. And now I'm sure, a lot of in your audience, just maybe do billboards. So it may be a bit challenging for a billboard operator to bring, personality or personable, to people. But, maybe there's a lot of different ways to bring, I think we can talk about it,
For sure. So the proverbial question really, when you look at what you do, it's so much part of the culture in that community. Which comes first, the creative or the culture? Which drives which?
Well, we work with a lot of agencies and they often create the concept, the strategy, the concept, the message, the visuals, and then we help them translate it for the streets, for neighborhoods, for festivals. So, whether it be McDonald's or, Converse, it's like, okay, how do we take this concept that you have and bring it to the people of Chicago, which is probably different than the way you bring it to LA, just because each city and each neighborhood has a unique culture. How people go to work, where they hang out, do they, drive, do they take mass transit? So, we kind of have, our feelers out there constantly feeling what's going on. We kind of believe cities are alive and always changing. So, we kind of go with the creative first and then figure out how to bring it to life in each individual city.
It sounds important, right? Because if we're allowing maybe the city to sort of dictate the creative, I'm sure that there's a lot of ideas. We could constantly be changing. The city is constantly changing. It's a living, breathing organism of people. So when you take that creative first approach, and you mentioned LA, you mentioned Chicago, New York, how scalable is it? Is it something that is exclusive to big cities like that? Or could you run this in a smaller market that just has a unique cultural opportunity?
Well, we try and give people an option to, do a one-off, which is all well and good, but what you want to do is to figure out something that works and then scale it out. So, sometimes it is smart to start doing it in one market, a small market like Pittsburgh, and get it really down and then scale it up. So it could be as simple as, a street team, but, each day you learn a little bit more about your messaging, what's resonating with people, and then you can bring it to a bigger market like Chicago or New York, Miami. And so what we try to do is take things that really weren't scalable earlier on, like these on the street experiences of some sort, and then figure out how to bring it to several cities at the same time, or as we were just talking about, rolling it out. So that's usually the puzzle that we try to also figure out at the same time. Okay, what's the experience and how can we bring this? What we're suggesting is make sure they can scale it up, and as it scales up, it costs less, and so that's part of the puzzle process.
Yeah, it's definitely more strategic than just going out and saying, "Hey, I want to do this thing in this neighborhood," and I think that that's important. Um, how do you see the conversation around, hyper local as we come out of this social distancing and face a brave new world? How do you see that concentration in what you do? Are they harmonious? Do they work together? Does it really impact you at all? And if so, how?
Well, our view is, what we do, posters, projections, all that stuff is hyper local marketing. I know hyper local usually is applied to the internet marketing world, but it truly is, greeting people on their way to work as they're taking mass transit, or, where they're hanging out on the weekends, waiting to get a line at, cup of coffee outside a store. People are lining up now outside, so there's it's definitely an opportunity, and I think there's a lot of advantages happening. I mean, there's wherever there's change, there's opportunity, and there's probably two times in our lifetime so far we've seen this much change: the financial crisis and what's going on now. So let's just take an example. Like in New York, I think people will be taking mass transit less. They'll be taking their bikes to work. They'll be, walking. They'll be taking less Uber, so that is a huge opportunity for just about anybody who's doing outdoor. So, offering people, hand sanitizer if they're taking mass transit, or giving something branded for people's bikes, whether it's a bike seat or even putting flowers on people's bikes, with the
Wow.
message. So there are just endless opportunities for outdoor at this time. I mean, right now it's quiet, but I think July, August, September, the rest of the year, I think we're going to see a rush of um, opportunities. And just think of it this way: remember the financial crisis? Just about every brand had to update their visuals and their message. So the same thing's going to happening now. At least that's what we're seeing with brands, and that's why it's so quiet. So once they get that figured out, they're going to have a way to get it to the people. And there are a lot of different ways these days, TV, radio, but outdoor is a part of it. And I think starting in July, we're going to see the usual, your current clients calling you and say, okay, we're ready to go with this new poster campaign. But I think we're also going to see, as with the financial crisis, a lot of brands who you weren't in your client roster before, like these budget brands, or like Payless stores or Boost Mobile or something like that. They're saying this is our time to shine, because people are no longer thinking about, or they are thinking about, it's like, maybe I should change from Verizon or AT&T and go to something less. So at least that's what we saw with the financial crisis. Like, okay, the current clients are here, and now there's a whole new crop of brands that are looking to, get in the mix. So I think we're going to be busy the second half of the year.
No, it makes sense too when you talk about that changing of message and creating really the opportunities for some of those smaller players to move into the space. I think it's a good point. 'Cause it's been a conversation that I've had with a few folks that we've all been slowed to the exact same speed. And it's
Mhm.
up to you whether you want to stop moving altogether or if you want to drive at the speed limit of that reduced speed. So I think that it's going to be an exciting thing to watch. What's the right message? People are absolutely exhausted with this. We're in it together. We're coming back strong. At least I am, and people close to me seem to be. What's the right message? Is there a right message? Is there a wrong message? What's your take?
Well, everyone's doing the same thing now, as you say. We're all in it together, but I think that it goes back to your brand and the objectives. And again, we're not a creative agency. We don't come up with the message often, but I would say in general, you want to be, personable. You don't want to seem out of touch with what's going on in people's lives. A lot of people lost their jobs, and money may be tight, or they may have lost somebody. So you want to be too excited and happy to be outdoors, but you say, hey, we're outdoors, and here's a little something to make your day a little bit better, enjoyable. So, um, I'm just trying to think of jobs in the past that kind of brought this element to it. So there's a local jeweler chain in Boston called Long's Jewelers. And during the holidays, the past couple of years, we brought out carolers to, greet people as they're walking to work. And, it's a little monotonous going the same route every day.
Sure.
And so, having carols there, giving people a little holiday card, had some ice sculpture. So just doing things to make people's days a little bit brighter would be my suggestion. So don't go too far out and say, hey, isn't it great now? Because I don't think it is, personally. I think I have faith in the agencies and brands that they'll be on point with what they say. But if it's a little bit off, we kind of just try to help them configure it a little bit differently for each market.
Yeah, I think that could be cool, right? Take advantage of the opportunities to just, like you said, put a smile on someone's face, create that positive brand association. It's always about how you make people feel. They don't remember what you say, right? It's
Yep.
I think that's a cool opportunity. Tell me more about some of the campaigns that stand out in your mind. I'm sure you've got some favorites over the years. The carolers definitely sound cool, but I'm sure you got a
Yeah.
few more.
I was thinking
Which
about
come to
that
mind?
for preparing for this, and I was trying to think, okay, what has a little bit of element of like outdoor media and and bringing the experience, and that's why I put up this virtual background, which was a project for Converse, and what it was all about was making people in certain neighborhoods the hero of the campaign, or a part of the campaign, integral. So we took a beat up van and adorned it with graffiti and stickers and everything else. And inside the van, we had a poster printing station.
That's
Outside the
awesome.
van, we had people saying, hey, man, would you like to be part of a Converse advertising campaign? And they said, what do you mean? It's like, hey, we check out the van, we take your photo, we'll print out some stickers, look like you're in an ad, Converse. So you get the stickers now, and then we're printing the posters now, and we're going to be putting them up tonight. So if you come back tomorrow, you'll see your face up on the wall. So you'll see in the background, these are individuals from the streets in New York. We also did it in Los Angeles
So
and did
cool.
it in 3 or 4 walls. So it's like, bringing people into the fold instead of just pushing it out, making them the center of your brand. And so that was, definitely one of my favorites. And check out the video case study up on the All Terrain site if you like.
Now that's super cool. So these folks, there was no cost of talent or anything like that. It was just, hey, there's an opportunity to be part of this campaign.
Right.
Is that
And
right?
they did have to sign a waiver, so we
Sure.
wanted to make it legit, but it was definitely on the guerrilla style. We pull up the van, throw some shoes and displays on the sidewalk, which is a little semi legit, and then sit and had someone hold a white backdrop, and say, hey, here it is, and that was it. And so everyone was against the white backdrop and printed them out and posted them up the same day. And if that happened to me on the streets, I would be telling all my friends. I'd
Hell
be coming
yeah.
back and posing in front of the wall, pointing them in. So it kind of lends to word of mouth, community content, all these things that brands really want to do. And so I thought that was a pretty good example of like how to bring the experiences to out of home.
I think it's a killer idea. And my last guest, David Title from Bravo Media, we talked about the opportunity of creating content around the content. So in this case, and if you can share, great. And if not, that's okay too. But I'd love your opinion on it. How important is that opportunity to create content around the campaign, right? There's moving pieces going on. There's behind the scenes opportunities to then parlay onto social media and other platforms. Is that something that you did with this campaign? And if not, is it something that brands take advantage of enough, or what's your take?
Well, we document everything to the hilt because you want to have you don't want to do content for content's sake. You want to do content to build community or to share the experience beyond where it's happening. So if we're doing a street team or this project, if you can document it in real time and push that content out, they could say, oh, well, that's pretty cool. What McDonald's is doing, even though I didn't experience it. So in the olden days, it was like, all right, we're going to reach 5, 10,000 people out there with whatever initiative you're doing in the streets. But when the content comes into it, it could be 500,000 people, via, you just seed it out on all the platforms, Twitter, Instagram, could be anything these days. So we're all about content and, and getting it to people as soon as possible so that they can leverage what we do. Anything that can make outdoor more valuable, that's where you want to be.
No, smart. I'm thinking about it even now, just as you were talking, that wall probably by itself may not be the most valuable piece of advertising real estate in the world, but it's how you used it in all of these different ways that created value. And that's pretty cool. So,
right. I mean, if you have 12, 14 people up on the wall, they all have 200 followers. There's, it just kind of multiplies its way out. So,
right. And listen, 5, 7, 10 years from now, I'd still be buying Converse and still telling people about that time that I was in this Converse campaign. It's got lifetime value, and there's not too many things that have that.
Yeah. I mean, well, people remember experiences, but what they remember even more than that are stories that they can tell and share with other people. Those live on forever. A good story does. And I think that's what this one campaign did. Now, again, it might be a little challenging to figure out how to do that with, an outdoor billboard company, but you put a little thought into it. I don't think it's impossible.
No, I think that there's great opportunities, even just with the how a billboard goes up and, introducing your campaign to the market and creating that content around it. It's why reality TV exists, right? Because we all want to see behind the
Everyone
scenes.
loves I love the process, of street art more than I love seeing the street art. It's like how the guy created that and put it up. So the process is more fascinating than the final product in many cases when it comes to the way I look at the world. So
sure, no, it's a very artistic thing, and the way that it comes together. It's not data and targeting. It's, hey, we're gonna do this really cool thing, and it's gonna create
that's the story. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. You've been consulted and cited in the past on things that go wrong with guerrilla marketing style campaigns. What are like the most common pitfalls? What are the things that are just absolute traps that brands fall into and totally miss?
Great. So we should probably define guerrilla marketing for everybody out there, because if you ask 10 people, you may get 10 different answers. So we define it as doing things without asking permission first. They may be in that, gray area legally, but you don't want it. You're going out and doing it anyway. You're being super creative. You're going out there. Some of the other definitions are like low budget, just being creative, but we define it as doing things without permission out there in the streets or in the public venues. So the number one thing is to know your audience and know the culture. So, if you were to take New York City as example, you could probably do quite a lot of guerrilla marketing in Williamsburg, Bushwick, all day long without issue. But if you take it to the Upper East Side or the Upper West Side, you probably have a lot of people complaining and, calling the cops on you. So you really want to, obviously figure out your goals, your message, your concept, and then again, figure out the right way to do it in that specific neighborhood so that people embrace it instead of, feeling, like this isn't right for my hood, So I would say that is the number one thing, is make sure the right place and in the right way.
So it's not just about, hey, we're going to play a little bit outside the rules here and that's going to make us rebels. It's about playing outside the rules without necessarily breaking the rules of like a community's trust and what
exactly. So that's a good point, though. The reason people do guerrilla marketing is often to have that badge of courage. It's like, hey, we're out there doing things.
Right, yeah, look at us.
Exactly. But you don't want to end up, in the clinker all weekend long. So, you want to, again, figure out a way to do it so that you are recognized for having some street cred, that you went out there and did something unique and different. but don't upset people, or at least try not to. I mean, there are always some people who are going to have something to say, but just try to do ways so that people embrace it. Just think about it from, their perspective. And, you often brands like, okay, here's a message, this is what we want to do, but really trying to figure out, well, how is this type of person going to perceive it? So, again, certain neighborhoods, you can kind of get an idea of the audience that's going to be there, and then you kind of can craft it for that particular crew.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Any dream brands or any dream products that you'd love to work with? Maybe they're listening right now.
No, no particular brands, but I just like to keep it moving forward, figuring out how to bring, stories, community, and content to the outdoor, marketing media space. So if a brand is up for that, we're here to do it. And, originality plays a lot with us. It's like, okay, we just don't want to do the same thing over and over again, because people don't really want to see the same thing that other brands have done before. People gravitate to unique, new, type of activations or initiatives. So that's the shop we're at. So people have something they've never been done before, or hasn't been done this certain way, or hasn't been done in Dallas before. It's like they end up gravitating to All Terrain because we're like that custom shop.
I mean, that sounds tough though, like to constantly be coming up with new ideas. Is it a creative process that you guys have? Do you just have really creative people? How do you keep fresh ideas coming?
Well, there's a whole bunch of platforms, that we can use, so we look at all the assets we have, whether it's, a trailer or a kiosk or a street team or projections. So you just kind of understand the goal, understand what they're trying to achieve, and then you say, okay, what is the right way to bring this to life? And then so we look in our bag of tricks and say, okay, well, is there anything that we currently have would be a great fit? And if not, it's like, okay, we're going to have to build something. We're going to have to create this, SUV, turn some SUV into something crazy on the roof or whatever it is. We're just going to have to do it. And so you just start with the goal and then figure out how to translate it to the streets.
Speaking of SUV with something on the roof, talk to me about the pancake guy.
Oh yeah, so the pancake mobile, as my kids like to call it. So this was for a frozen pancake company called DeWaffle Bakers. Working with their
so like frozen pancakes I get at the grocery store and heat
exactly
up on Saturday morning. Okay.
So I think they were rolling out to new markets. One was LA and the other one was Atlanta. Well, we're maybe rolling out new products or to a new chain. And they're like, okay, what can we do instead of just maybe the usual sampling in the supermarket, which everybody does, and doesn't excite anybody. It's like, well, why don't we activate outside supermarkets and on the street with a really cool brand? So the brand kind of has that vintage feel, kind of like Snapple kind of has. Yeah. And so you say, why don't we take a Jeep Wagoneer, one of my favorite old Jeeps.
They're so great, right?
And create a huge stack of pancakes out of, sculpted, I think it was either foam or plexiglass, I can't recall, but make it, probably 4 or 5 feet high by 4 feet wide and attach it to the roof rack, wrap the vehicle, get some dry ice, get some coolers, and just pull up, to Melrose and say, hey, we have, this is for you. This is from DeWaffle Bakers, and came in a bag with a little ice pack so they can keep it cold. And wherever that vehicle went, as you can imagine, it just blew up the spot. Everyone's taking pictures of it, whether you're, 5 years old or 50 years old, having, something for the gram is, well, maybe a 5-year-old doesn't have an Instagram account nonetheless, but proposing with their parents for a big stack of pancakes to send to everybody, whether it be text or whatever, was definitely what you want. I mean, you want to be noticeable, and that was definitely one of my favorite, vehicle campaigns, because it looked great, created a lot of impressions, and the engagements were outstanding. People cross the street to come engage with it. How many campaigns can you talk about that where you're like,
For
the people are just
frozen
keep coming up.
waffles.
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, we activate also outside the supermarkets where it was great because you're doing the same thing you would do inside the supermarket, but you're engaging people before they get inundated with all this other stuff. And you can say, hey, if you buy a pack inside, you can get a pack outside or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great. I love the Wagoneer. I think it came out great, and we'll definitely link somewhere down below that you guys can go check it out because that's pretty cool. Any projects that you're working on that you can tell us about coming out of our current situation here?
Not yet, but I've been taking this time to build a few assets. So I don't want to reveal what they are, but hopefully, July 1st, we'll have a few new offerings for brands. So I would stay in touch with us or me via LinkedIn, and you'll see it popping up.
Cool.
But in general, we're keeping tabs of what's going on. A lot of, again, a lot of festivals have been canceled and cities are changing culture. So again, we're just trying to, figure out a way to, help brands reconnect with people once everything opens up.
For sure. We'll have to reconnect in a couple months and see kind of what's transpired between now and then.
That sounds like a great idea.
Cool. Adam, where can people find you? Give us the URLs, give us the handles. Where are the best places to track you down?
I would say the best place would be LinkedIn because we're usually posting up on there, and that's where all the brand planners and media planners are. So put a lot of effort into that. So you can either follow Alt Terrain, ALT Terrain on LinkedIn, or Adam Salacuse on LinkedIn, and or of course the website too. Just reach out that way, whichever way you feel comfortable.
Sounds good. We'll make sure there's links to everything down below. Adam, this hat has been a staple of the show for the last 8 months or so. And after so many people asking me, Tim, where'd you get the hat? I went out and did something crazy and started making my own hats. So I just wanted to do it today because it came today. So to officially make the changeover to the
fresh.
new Out of Home Insider hat. Stick around after I shut off the record because I want to get your address and get you a fresh lid here.
I'll rock that. No problem.
Cool.
All right,
guys,
man.
hopefully you found
much.
this helpful. If you found it helpful, please share it with someone else who could benefit from the value of everything that Adam has shared here today. We'll definitely catch up with him in a few months to find out what's going on. As always, want to get a hat like this? Check out oohswag.com. Use promo code INSIDER for 10% off. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. See you guys real soon.
Peace.